Hello, thank you for joining us. This is John Harity for CMSA Chicago TV. Welcome to another episode of CMSA's Member Spotlight, our informational video series by members, about members, discussing the various specialties in case management. Today's video puts the spotlight on Kathy Moriarty. She is an RN, an MSN, a CCDS, and a CCM. She is employed by Lurie Children's Hospital, and her specialty is leadership in case management. Kathy Moriarty has been a registered nurse for over 30 years. She began her career as a staff nurse in medical, surgical, and emergency department areas prior to moving into case management. Kathy found passion within nursing and case management, where she has taken on several leadership roles, assisting to promote patient safety, quality of care, and cost-effective outcomes. Kathy is currently the Senior Director of Case Management at Ann and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital, Chicago. She holds her Master's in Nursing from University of Phoenix, Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Loyola University, Chicago. She holds dual certification in case management and clinical documentation. Kathleen is a member of the Case Management Society of America, Association of Clinical Documentation Specialists, in Sigma Theta Tau. Hope I'm saying that right. As a certified clinical documentation specialist, Kathy works collaboratively with providers and members of the care team to capture the clinical severity to support level of services rendered to relevant patient populations. She is passionate about ensuring that the case management team has all the tools needed in order to make appropriate clinical care decisions while caring for patients, families, and the transitions of care. On a personal note, Kathy enjoys cooking and baking. During the pandemic, her love for the city of Chicago has allowed her to enjoy ordering from her favorite restaurants to keep them afloat, walking, biking in Cook County Forest Preserve trails, and watching live stream music events. Welcome, Kathy, and thank you for being here.
Oh, John, thanks so much. Happy to be here. Quite an introduction, huh?
Sure was. Very nice. Can you tell me a bit about yourself, your career path, and what led you to the role you're in today?
Sure. Mostly you covered it, but clearly I've had a passion for nursing, specifically case management. I was at the bedside for about 10 years before I really had a curiosity about the business side of nursing. How do we get paid? How do hospitals receive payment from insurance companies? How does that all work? And that really led my journey into case management. I served in some of those roles, such as a utilization management nurse, working with insurance companies, care coordination, working with patients and families and the discharge planning process, developing relationship with post-acute providers, and really just fell in love with getting patients home and getting them home safely to be able to return to the outcomes that we strove for in the hospital. Most of my career has been on the provider side, working in hospitals. And most recently, I just made a change and decided to move away from the adult side and head into the children's space, really just to thrive for children and make the most for those underserved children that we see throughout the Chicagoland area.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. That's excellent. And it's wonderful that you're kind of looking at the whole approach, patient care, and how does the business work. So I'm sure employers really appreciate that. What does a workday look like for you?
Well, I'm an early bird. I often like to squeeze in a little exercise before I head out the door to work. If not then, I try and achieve that after work. But I commute into work every day. I usually use that time to jump on a podcast and stay abreast with the latest rules and regs. Most of my podcasts are healthcare related, although I do enjoy a good humor now and then, and some good music. But I would say that gets me into the door. I'm usually at my desk by like 7:30. Once I'm in that work mode, a lot of meetings, and we may have initiatives that we're supporting, and case management is involved, and really advocating for our team and the important work we do. I especially love to huddle and round, where I can touch base with the team and really get feedback in live time regarding our systems and our processes. Wrap up the day, usually on my way home. Love to connect with the kids or the family, and that's really it in a nutshell.
Excellent, Kathy. I mean, you just kind of gave a recipe for not being burned out by that very well balanced day. What do you enjoy most about the work you do, and what are you most excited about right now?
Sure. The work I do, what do I enjoy most is probably working with the teams that I support. A shared government model is really something I'm passionate about. In nursing, we have the opportunity to work in magnet designated hospitals, and many of those hospitals create shared governance committees within, and the employer that I work for, and specifically at Lurie, there is a great amount of shared decision making. So meeting with the teams, having ideas come from the teams, and being able to support those ideas, that's really some work that I enjoy. What I'm most excited right now about is probably the vaccines. We've come to a time, as this past year, through the pandemic, that we're getting healthcare workers vaccinated, and now we're moving on to the next phase, and taking care of our older folks and those that are high risk. That's pretty exciting for me currently, and being able to share stories of getting our vaccination and how it went, and sharing with one another and supporting one another. I think it's really important. It's going to take a while before we hit that herd immunity, right. But I think as a healthcare worker, that's part of my role, is to be able to encourage others to get vaccinated so we can get on the other side of this pandemic.
Great. And I know this pandemic was a real surprise and very disruptive in a lot of different ways. So the next question is there something that surprised you about your role when you first started?
Well, I guess my current role, what surprised me the most when I made that move from working mostly in the adult space to the pediatric space, is we have some really sick kids, and the current team that I support takes care of very complex kids. In fact, in our building, we have the capacity to turn over our total amount of beds to an intensive care bed licensure of 61%. So 61% of our beds, we can and we do have intensive care patients. So if you could imagine how complex our patient population is here at Lurie, it's a pretty special place, and a place that many patients come to from the surrounding region and internationally to receive excellent pediatric care that they wouldn't otherwise be able to access in other hospitals. So that's really what surprised me mostly about my current role. And then also the research that needs to take place to be able to vaccinate children in the future. We're not there yet as far as the current vaccines that are available to children, but it's pretty exciting here at Lurie that we are performing research to be able to vaccinate children in the future.
Yeah, right on the cutting edge of what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face day to day?
Well, I can't help but think about the pandemic, and it's been a very rough year, not only for staff, but also for leaders. As a leader, it's difficult to be able to get to work every day and think about the next project or the next improvement or the next challenge that we're facing, and be able to support teams as if the daily masks we wear and the consciousness of social distance isn't playing a role in that. This year, and mostly throughout my career, I've managed individuals on site, and in my new role, I manage both an on-site team and a remote team. And it's been hard to see the bridge between these two worlds because we're disconnected physically. And in that distance, we all kind of carry our own burdens during this pandemic. So it's really important for me to check in with staff and do those check-ins on a regular basis, whether they're working on site or working remotely. That's really been the biggest challenge that I've faced most recently. But again, with the outlook that we are now all receiving our vaccination, and we are coming back to site for on-site meetings a couple times a month, and getting the team all together is really important.
Excellent. Yeah, we can't forget how difficult this is for leaders because you're all expected to be supporting people all the time. And yeah, thank you. So what skills, all the things you just said and all the complexity, if someone else was saying, God, can I do Kathy's job or something similar, or they want to grow into it, what skills do you think are most important for someone interested in a job like yours?
Sure. Probably those soft skills that we all read about and take time to reflect. And the one that comes to mind the most is that listening skill, that ability to be able to sit in a room and present an idea and have some thoughtful listening. I think that's really a great skill to have in a leadership position. I also think as we lead others, it's great to look laterally rather than looking at the past or predicting the future. I like to live in the here and now. And I think sometimes we get caught up in wanting to achieve a goal. But yet, if we take those small wins that we can achieve and celebrate day to day, then that bigger goal or that bigger project seems so much easier to get to. So those are some of the basic skills that I try to embrace with the teams I lead. And again, have that shared governance where I can sit back and listen, and the people that are doing the work actually come up with the ideas and come up often with the solution, and then taking the time to celebrate them.
Great. Good stuff.
Yeah. People work hard. They really do.
Yeah. And it's nice when, people are listening to each other and all the hard work they feel like, is being acted upon as being collaboratively connected. Right. Yeah, great. What are some big projects you're working on now or that you finished up in the last few months?
Well, one initiative that we're working on right now is near and dear to my heart, and that's all about embracing that documentation to support the the severity of illness and the intensity of service that our patients are receiving while in the hospital. So we're currently partnering with our clinical documentation integrity team, sometimes known as the CDI team. And we're looking at providing a working DRG within the medical record for the case management team to bring to rounds, to bring to huddles. So we as a team kind of can anticipate that discharge date, and collectively, the team is able to prepare patients and families for discharge, whether that's teaching, whether that's medication reconciliation, whether that's a certain skill that they need, that we need to set up home care. All of those things within that allotted DRG time is something that we're currently working, which is pretty exciting. Working with providers to make sure that they're documenting what's tethering that child to the bed and what they need here in the hospital and when we anticipate they'll be able to be discharged home. So that's a great initiative, and often an initiative that helps case managers manage that length of stay so we can prepare patients and families for discharge. And it doesn't come as a surprise. And we all kind of know that allotted amount of time. And even better yet, the insurance company and us are both on the same page in regards to the transition of care, and that we're meeting those benchmarks, we're meeting the outcomes, and then the patient's able to be safely discharged to the next level of care. So that's been an initiative, and partnering with other departments in the hospital that has really helped our kids.
So Kathy, I work for an insurance company too. So the term DRG, is that like a bundled amount of time versus like a per diem?
Correct. Okay. So it's the benchmark we have, and not getting into the details of contractual insurance company with the payer, with the provider, and a contract. It gives us an overview, diagnostic related group of the amount of time for that particular condition. And it does also weigh in the patient's comorbids or complications. So just working with that coding side of the world and putting that into play in operations and knowing what that allotted time is in the hospital.
Okay, very educational. Now, Kathy, the last question is, we're so happy you joined us on CMSA Chicago's board.
Yeah.
And I know it's still relatively early, but how has being a member, and you've been a member a long time, how has being a member of CMSA Chicago benefited your career?
Wow. It's great to be a member of any association, but when you come together with individuals that do the same work as you do and you have that networking opportunity, sky's the limit. In healthcare, there are so many silos as it relates to caring for a patient across the continuum. So you get a bunch of case managers in the room, and boy, you can actually break down those walls. Meeting, oh, John, he works for the payer. Oh, Susie, she works for a post-acute provider. Oh, Kathy, she's a clinical documentation specialist. And just being able to come together and meet other individuals and have the forums to network has been an awesome opportunity for me. And having those connections actually help our patients, because we know what the other person's role is. We know the outcomes they're trying to achieve, safe outcomes and quality outcomes that are best suited for our patients and families. So being a part of CMSA has really opened up the door to be able to look at all the providers that care for our patients across the continuum and how important it is that we connect with one another. And that's the forum that CMSA provides.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. I want to thank all our CMSA TV viewers, and special thanks to Kathy Moriarty for joining us today. Kathy, it's been a pleasure.
John, thanks for the opportunity. It's great that we're getting on the other side of that pandemic and leading others in the important work we do. And I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to get to know me and what it is I do.
It's been a pleasure, Kathy.
Have a
See you
good one.
soon. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.